Welcome along to another year of my life. With us today, former Ireland and Liverpool midfielder Jason McAteer. Jason, thank you very much for your time.
It's great to see you, Andy. How are you keeping?
I'm all right, Jason. No complaints from me. How about you? How's the family?
Okay. Obviously, we're 5 weeks in, just into lockdown, so the novelty's kind of worn off a little bit for me. As you know, I'm a bit of a jet setter, and flying around and doing different things for the club and that. So obviously planting my roots for this amount of time is obviously starting to take its toll with the kids and everything else. But we're getting through it. Obviously there's a bigger picture to this, as you know. We're all trying to keep everyone safe and help the NHS over there, as everyone is around the world. I'm sure you're the same over there. So we're doing our bit, but we're just trying to grind through it at the minute. So yeah, no complaints really.
Yeah, it's not the easiest, is it? But I think we all just have to just get through it, don't we? Do our bit, and hopefully we'll get you back over to Doha with us soon.
Yeah, that'd be nice, mate. I mean, the weather here has been Doha weather. I mean, one thing you have got is obviously the opportunity to get out, but it's the same for us into the garden, and it's going to be about 70, 73 today, which is for England at this time of the year is fantastic. So the kids are out in the fresh air, no iPads today or TVs, which is great. So yeah, in the fresh air, and it makes you feel better, a bit like yourself, mate. I haven't got the pool like you. I haven't got the pool.
Well, we're lucky in some respects, eh? Jason,
Oh, no.
if you want to watch this little series with us, may well spot. We've talked about 1995, 1996 before, but it was such a good season. I think it's worth going back to. To me, growing up, and everyone will have their own opinions, I think it's still my favourite season ever because there were three teams in the league that year: Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester United, who were brilliant to watch, who all played relentless attacking football and had pretty little regard for defending, which as a neutral or as a viewer just made it fantastic to watch. What about you as a player? To be involved, was it your finest season?
Yeah, I mean, I was going through a real good patch. I'd obviously come into professional football really late, sort of 1990, 91. I turned pro. I was actually like 19, 20 years of age around that time. So I had a bit of catching up to do, no apprenticeship. So obviously being at Bolton, worked hard with Bruce Rioch on sort of all my weaknesses, and sort of really got into football. And then obviously was capped in 94, just before the World Cup. And then obviously I went to America with Ireland, and, that just, put me in good stead really to feel like I could belong playing with the best players and playing at the top, because obviously playing around, with Ireland and Paul McGrath and Roy Keane and Andy Townsend and Aldo and all them, Ronnie Whelan, you feel at home. So yeah, I was growing in confidence, and I probably would say around sort of the 95, 96 season was when I was feeling at my most confident. I'd had a few seasons at Bolton where we'd grown as a team, and I'd grown as a person, and, become confident with who I was as a footballer. Knew I could handle myself on the big stage. So, so the 95 season sort of started off with, it was good and bad. It was like happy times and sad times, because we obviously at Bolton, we'd got promotion from the season before. We'd beaten Reading in the playoffs. So we got to the holy grail was getting to the Premier League. We'd managed to do that with our team and our manager, Bruce Rioch and Colin Todd. But unfortunately for us, Bruce decided that he wanted to go to Arsenal. The lure to pull him to Arsenal was massive. And I felt abandoned, because he was like a father figure to me. And as I said, I was learning from him and spent a lot of time, after training, staying behind and working on different things with him. And, I loved him to bits. And then he left. And I had no real desire to leave Bolton. We'd got to the Premier League. I wanted to have a go at with this team, with the squad. But obviously in the papers, it was, talking about me moving on with Alan Stubbs and Alan Thompson. They were the other two players at Bolton that looked like they were going to move on. But we were quite happy to stay. And then Bruce left. And then we thought then it was our time to leave. It was, we were going to go off to different clubs. We were going to be bought. But that wasn't the case. Roy McFarlane was the new manager of Bolton, decided that we were going to stay. He was turning down all kinds of offers. And we actually played probably 4, 5, maybe 6 games for Bolton before the transfer clause was triggered.
This was the days before the transfer window, wasn't it? So you got up until the international break in middle of September before you went. Was it always Liverpool for you? Because there was a lot of talk at the time that Blackburn fancied you as well.
Ideally, if you'd have said to me, you're going to leave in the summer from Bolton, who would you want to go to? Of course, it would be Liverpool. That was the club I supported. That's where I wanted to go. They'd showed, relatively little interest, to be honest. I mean, I'd had a couple of phone calls off Sammy Lee would ring me up and just say, he was just saying to me, listen, keep us in the picture. If Bolton say anything to you, or if anyone comes in, just let us know. But they never really said they wanted to sign me. We'd obviously played them in the League Cup the season before. So they'd had a good look at me, and they knew that what they were getting, kind of thing. But they never really said, listen, we want you, you want to come. So, like I said, I was quite happy, starting the season with Bolton. But when Bruce left, I kind of wanted to move on then. I kind of thought, right, I want to go. And then, as you just mentioned there, hoping that Liverpool would trigger that clause. It wasn't Liverpool, it was Blackburn. They bid £9 million for myself and Alan Stubbs in a joint deal. Obviously, Blackburn were the Premier League champions from the season before. So it was a massive compliment, because Kenny was my hero, and it was a massive compliment him coming in for me. But with them being Premier League holders as well, I knew that the opportunity to go to a top club with a top manager was it was there for me. So yeah, we went and spoke to Kenny. The two of us went up with our agent. We went and spoke to him in a hotel on the East Lancs Road, the Haydock Thistle. We met there, and during that meeting, obviously Liverpool had found out that the transfer fee had been triggered, and they rang my agent during the meeting and just said, we'd like to speak to Jason if it's okay. We've agreed £4.5 million, which was obviously half the 9 million quid for the pair of us. And I said to Kenny during the meeting, listen, Liverpool have agreed. Is it okay if I get the opportunity to talk to Liverpool? And Kenny just went, no. He said, if you leave the room and you go and speak to Liverpool, he said, the deal's off. He said, so it's up to you. You either sign for us now, the pair of us, 9 million package, or the deal's off if you leave the room without signing. So I was under tremendous pressure. I was young. I'd never been in this situation before. Kenny, my hero. But I've got Liverpool wanting to talk to me and sign me, my boyhood club where I've always wanted to play. But I've got Alan Stubbs sitting outside where I could wreck his dream. So I was like, what do we do? What do we do? And I went out and I spoke to Stubbsy, and he just said to me, listen, Liverpool's your club. You need to go and speak to them. So I said, okay, brilliant. And I went back in and said to Kenny, listen, I'm going to go and speak to Liverpool. And he just said to me, ring me later and let me know what you're going to do. And I said, okay.
Do you think there was still a chance to go back to Kenny if Liverpool hadn't happened? Or do you think he was adamant that was it, Blackburn gone?
No, I think it was, they, like I said, they were Premier League title winners. Kenny knew that I was I was a big fan of his. I think he was just putting the pressure on me. I think he was just saying, listen, you and Alan are not going to sign if you leave this room. So it's up to you. But I think if I'd have rang him, if I'd have spoke to Liverpool and not liked what I'd heard, or Roy had said to me, listen, you're not going to play for a couple, season, maybe you're just going to bed you in. It might have been different. I might have rang Kenny and said, listen, Kenny, I'm not going to sign for Liverpool. Is it okay if we sit down again? I think he would have given me the opportunity. But I think he knew that once Liverpool had got me and out to Anfield to talk, then there was no turning back for me. So,
had you seen much of the football that season, or much of Liverpool particularly? Because even before you signed, it set the tone for the season. There was Stan Collymore on his debut, and then a week later, Liverpool lost against Leeds. Tony Yeboah scored that wonderful goal. And it seemed to set the tone that we all knew Liverpool were going to be one of the teams to watch that season. We didn't know who knew if there would be title challenges, but they were going to be great to watch.
I was a Liverpool fan. I was going to games. I stood on the cop when Graham Souness was manager against, it was Bristol City. Brian Tinnion scored the penalty that knocked them out of the cup. I think it was Bristol City or Bristol, was one of them. Bristol Rovers, Bristol City, I can't remember. But I was on the cop that night watching it. And, I used to go to games. And I remember speaking to Ronnie Whelan. And Ronnie Whelan was saying to me in the players' lounge, used to get in the players' lounge and stuff. Because I knew Jamie and Stevie Mack and Robbie, because obviously I was playing for Ireland and living in Liverpool. I'd go out for a night out with my mates and bump into them. So, we bumped into each other quite regularly, whether we were shopping, restaurants, or just having a night out. So I knew the lads. So it was kind of, I was a fan, but I was also not great mates with them, but I knew them. So, we'd have a drink together. They'd ask me what's going on. Are you signing? Are you coming? What's happening? And, how's things and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I knew, it was a young team. It was going to be an exciting team. They were great players. They were up and coming players, and Roy, was trying to get this nice balance between youth and experience. So he kept on John Barnes and Ian Rush, and Jan was still there when I signed. Paul Stewart was still there. Ronnie was still there. I mean, they left just as I got there, but Barnesy and Rushy and Mark Wright were probably they were the experienced pros who Roy decided to keep and build the team around. So I knew what was going on there. Yeah, I knew it was an exciting team. So
you've just said no to Kenny Dalglish, your hero. You're not going to go and play for Blackburn. You make your Liverpool debut against...
That's how much of a fan I am, mate. I'm still drinking out of a cup.
I thought you'd won a few more of those, Jason.
Yeah, that's the only cup I've won, mate.
So you said no to Kenny, your boyhood hero. You said, no, I'm not going to go to Blackburn. I'm going to Liverpool. And you make your Liverpool debut against Blackburn.
Blackburn Rovers, yeah. Funny how football throw these situations up, innit? Yeah. And Bolton was on the horizon. I think Bolton was the next game. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a tricky time. When I signed for Liverpool, they were away in Russia. They were playing Vladikavkaz in I think it was the Cup Winners' Cup, I think.
That's you.
Yeah, so they were in Europe. So when I signed, as much as it was, it was £4.5 million. They just paid 7 million for Stan Collymore, who'd hit the ground running, as you mentioned there, scored a fantastic goal in the debut against Sheffield Wednesday. I like you say, the Premier League was relatively new still. The money was coming into the Premier League. It was still only 2 or 3 seasons old. Richie Keys and Andy Gray, they pioneered the way we were watching football through Sky. It was Super Sunday had come around. So, like you just said there, we were seeing all the goals. It was gone, of the big match on a Sunday and grandstand on a Saturday where you get the reports coming in. We were actually seeing all the goals, and the glamour was just fantastic. It was just, the adverts, and footballers were becoming more like pop stars and film stars. The money was coming into the game. So yeah, it was just really, really exciting time. So to sign for this young, exciting club was amazing. But like I said, they were away. So I didn't actually train with the lads for a couple of days. And then obviously, as you just put it, ironically, my first game was against Blackburn. So obviously I didn't make eyes with Kenny. Just kept my head down, and I got on. I think I got on for the last 10 minutes. I think Barnesy came off, and it was my first taste. But I remember, walking into the dressing room, and it was the old dressing room, but the nostalgia that was in there, the wooden bench that had been there from Shankly was still used to get strap-ins. It was a small, I wouldn't say pokey, but it was certainly not like the grand dressing rooms are now. It was very small. There was wooden benches, L-shaped. There was a doorway into the showers. Big bath was still there. Toilets onto the back right. You walk into the dressing room, the manager sat onto the right with all his staff. There was a fridge with all the Lucozades in. That was basically it. Your kit was hanging up. And I'm quite territorial. I like to change in corners. I don't like to be in the middle of a long row. I like to get into the corners. So I managed to ask the kit man if I could get changed there. And when I walked in, he'd give me the peg right in the corner. My number 4 shirt was up. My towel with my shorts and my sock. I'll never forget it. My 2 pairs of boots were there, sparkling. And I just remember putting the kit on and just going into where the toilets were and the sinks and everything, and just looking in the mirror and just thinking, this is it. Like, signed for Liverpool. I'm like looking at the badge and the kit and the bright red shirt. I'm just thinking, this is just like dreams. Dreams have come true here.
How annoying or how frustrating was it then? So you make your debut, you come on for John Barnes, last 10 minutes against Blackburn. The next game is against Bolton. So I presume that it was pre-agreed. You wouldn't play in that game.
No, that was one of the stipulations. Didn't play. And when I signed, it was funny because you say coming on for Barnes against Blackburn. When I signed, Roy's idea was to get me and Jamie in the middle of the park. He obviously wanted the industry from me and the work rate and getting forward, and obviously getting back and helping Jamie defend. But Jamie was obviously the articulate one, the smooth, and with the passes, and he wanted him on the ball. And this was his vision, this was his idea, but it never turned out like that. it kind of took a different direction, sort of a few games on from that. So obviously to come on for John Barnes, it was kind of bittersweet, really. It was kind of, I was coming on for one of my heroes, knowing that, he was getting sort of phased out a little bit, but it didn't pan out like that.
Well, so in the end, if my memory's right, you kind of ended up making that right back, right wing back, almost your position for that season.
Well, Rob Jones got injured, and I played on the right. I sort of grew up non-league football as a right wing. I started off as a right back, went to right wing. I mean, it was very much 4-4-2. I mean, dinosaur football, 4-4-2. That's how everyone played. That was it. So it was either right back or right midfield, and I was both growing up. And then Bolton, it was Bruce Rioch that put me in the middle of the park. He wanted me to play centre midfield, and that's where I learnt my trade there. So, I was signed for Liverpool predominantly as a centre midfielder, but Roy knew I could play right back. And Rob Jones got injured, and I think what forced Roy's hand was I was more attack minded than defensive minded. So I used to like getting forward. Stig Bjornaby liked to get forward as well. And, we had a wealth of talent at centre-half. I mean, we had 4 very, very good centre-halves. Mark Wright, England international. Phil Babb played in the World Cup, Irish international, 94. John Scales, I think, had been capped for England. And Neil Ruddock been capped for England. So, we had 4 international centre-halves. And obviously they were putting pressure on Roy to play. And I think, he'd settled on a back 3. Me being more attack-minded, could play wing-back. And obviously Rob Jones and Stig Bjornaby could play on the left. They liked attacking more. So it kind of suited the system. But also it gave Roy the opportunity to give Steve McManaman a free role. So all of a sudden, he didn't shoehorn players into positions. It was kind of genius, really. He kind of found where everyone was really happy, but he got the best out of everyone. And like you said, it produced this really attractive, extravagant, forward-thinking, attacking team.
Do you remember when you first got a start for Liverpool? What was that? Was that the big turning point to go out and actually start a game?
Yeah, well, obviously Rob getting injured, which wasn't ideal, because I still wanted to play centre midfield. So when he got injured, I knew there was a run of games in the team. But then obviously Roy, when he changed the system, I kind of had an inclination that I was there to stay, because I kind of thought, well, he knows I'm a lot happier playing on the right. Barnes is actually playing really well. Jamie was in and out the team with Mickey Thomas because he was injured. Stig loved playing there, like I said, and he got Steve McManaman a free role, but Stan and Robbie, playing up front, but also he got the protection of 3 centre-halves. So all of a sudden, we started playing really, really good football. And I think my first start, if my memory serves me right, was Manchester United away, which was Cantona's comeback game. So the game was massive, built up by Kesey and Andy on We Were Super Sunday. Cantona's comeback after this infamous kung fu kick. So, you could just imagine like the nerves to go to Old Trafford. I've never played there. I'd been at Bolton, played in some big games, obviously played at Wembley, played in the World Cup, but, to play in front of like 60, 70,000 in that game as my first start for Liverpool. Well, it was, I could tell you I spent longer on the toilet before the game, I know that.
Did it take the pressure off you a bit though? Because obviously, with all due respect, no one's talking about Jason McAteer's debut when you've got all this furore and circus around Eric Cantona coming back. So your debut, or your first start, if you like, was a bit under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, it was never ever, that fixture was never ever going to be about me making my debut. I wasn't that kind of player. I wasn't that kind of attraction. And as you say, it was all built around Cantona. But one thing that was built up was, could I handle Ryan Giggs? There was a big challenge at Giggsy. I mean, Giggsy, Manchester United, the Premier League that season, as you rightly said, was talked about as this young, attractive Man United team that was going to win nothing with kids that had done so well the season before. Newcastle under Kevin Keegan, who put a phenomenal team together. But also, what you missed out was Blackburn were still holders and still trying to retain the title and still very much in the race under Kenny. So, and then you throw us into the mix. It was probably, the first massive game of the season. And as you said, was built up that way. So it was never ever going to be about me. It was always about other things. But for me personally, you don't want to let the side down. You don't want to let yourself down, do you? And it was the ultimate test. It was the game I looked at myself upon and thought, if I do well here, I'm actually going to stay in the team forever. Because, if you can play in that fixture and you can play well, then you can play anywhere in the world for Liverpool, because that's the ultimate fixture.
Did you think you'd won it when you got this? It was Nicky Butt put United in front. Was it a couple of goals from Robbie Fowler had you in front? Do you think you were going to win the game?
Yeah, we'd gone 2-1 up. Robbie was just genius. I think, if you see the 2 goals, smashes one into the top corner, beats the best keeper in the world twice with phenomenal goals. And then the second goal, which I love, he just shrugs off Gary Neville. And then he has the audacity to chip 6'5" Schmeichel with the most elegant, little backlift, just floats it over him and then just runs away just with that cheeky grin. 2-1 up, Old Trafford, obviously they threw everything at it. And, it was I think if I remember rightly, the penalty, if VAR was around, I don't think it would have been given. Jamie slides in on Giggsy with Mickey Thomas, and it's outside. The foul's outside the box, but they're going into the box, and obviously Giggs falls in the box, and the referee gives the penalty. The fairy tale is Cantona's come back, Liverpool 2-1 down, penalty. You're standing there and you're just thinking, you just know he's going to score, and he scored. But what I felt was we would get another. I never felt we'd lose the game. I felt we were always in it and we'd go on and win it. I felt more like that. And obviously, we ended up 2-2. And, you go away, Old Trafford, against a team that's fighting for the title. No harm done.
So this is you now. You're now a Liverpool player. You've got that spot. You got a funny little run from then up until the turn of the year. I think you lost 5 games in total. So by Christmas, did you almost feel you were out of the title race? Yeah, you beat Man United at Anfield, Robbie again. There was the 3-1 against Arsenal. So everyone knew you had it there. So the performances, but you were just dropping silly points at times that meant you were never really in the title race, even though to watch, we all knew that Liverpool were one of the teams, probably the hardest team to beat in many ways.
Yeah, we were always sort of dubbed the nearly men, but I think defensively we took quite a bit of criticism, which was unjust, really. It was more, I think if you look at the top 4 that finished that season, we finished there, Newcastle and United obviously top. Out of the top 4, we had the best defensive record, and we had a better goal scoring record, goals for than Newcastle. I think United only pipped us by 3 or 4 goals, but defensively we were better than Newcastle and Manchester United. I'm not sure who finished 4th. I think it was Arsenal, but we had a better defensive record than them, who had a fantastic back 4. So, I think what you just said there was right. We drop silly points. We give silly goals away. At 1-0 up, we try and go 2-0, 3-0. When really 1-0, shut up shop, nick 3 points, get out of there. We would still be very extravagant, and we would take our eyes off it, a little bit of concentration here and there, and then concede silly goals, draw 2-2, draw 1-1. So we drop points that way rather than getting beat heavily. I mean, I was just looking down there before we beat Man United in that we drew with Man United. We beat the Premier League title holders 3-0 at Anfield, which was obviously that game you mentioned when I come on for 10 minutes. Battered Manchester City 6-0. We were beaten by Newcastle away, beaten by Everton away. As you just said there, we went through a little bad patch through October, November. We kind of off-started, come out the blocks flying, and then just sort of literally just stopped in our tracks with 4 or 5 really bad results, but then got it back on track again.
Were you better in big games?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the results, you know, in the big games, we turned up. You know, the result that turned it round, um, obviously we beat, just before the Liverpool Man United game, we beat Bolton away 1-0, and then we beat Manchester United 2-0 at Anfield. Then we beat Arsenal. Then we drew with Chelsea.
Can you
You know,
remember
so
those two at
yeah,
Anfield, United and Arsenal?
yeah. I remember the United game more than the Arsenal game. I think the Arsenal game, Ian Wright missed a penalty, but you'd have to check that. But the United game, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like Man United, my first game against Man United at Anfield under the lights. And you know, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here. You know, Giggsy, thanks mate, you do it. Giggsy never got a kick. We worked so hard on the training ground. Our tactics were right. It was mad because I remember being on the training ground and the gaffer saying, "Let Beckham have it. Let Beckham have it." And I was thinking, he's talking about one of the best passers in the world here, and he can open up things ridiculous. And his idea was to Giggsy. They played so wide,
yeah.
And the idea was Beckham loved Hollywood. You know, we just wanted that 30, 40, 50-yard pass. So Giggsy would always get on the shoulder. So Evo would say to me, tuck in and show him the passes on. So I'd tuck in, and Ronnie Moran would say to me, as soon as Beckham gets his head down to hit a 40-yard pass, you've got to make up 15 yards. That ball's got to travel 40, 45 yards. You can get to Giggs before the ball gets there. So as soon as Beckham gets his head down, you get out to him. So show him the pass, get out to him. And we, honest to God, it worked a treat. We must have cut that pass out 10 times during that game. It was just like, go on, hit it. He'd hit it. And then we'd cut it out and we'd get on the break. And then we were so good on the break, so quick. And Robbie again, free kick, first half. And then the second goal, him and McAteer just tore them up. Bit of skill. Robbie again, Dink Schmeichel, 2-0. We battered them that night.
As a neutral, you were brilliant to watch, that Liverpool team. Did you think sometimes the criticism that's levelled at you is you maybe enjoyed yourselves too much? Is that harsh? I mean, what was the Spice Boys tag that you had? It almost implied that you were, I mean, you said it, when you went to Liverpool, it was almost like you became a pop star. Were there too many distractions?
No, I mean, like I said, you know, everyone was still learning. So, you know, you had the old school supporter who would be like, you know, who couldn't get their head round that football was changing and becoming more glamorous in the sense of, you know, we were on the back of cereal packets and doing adverts and, you know, doing these kind of things. Football was moving forward. You know, the glamour of the game was changing. So there was people who were adapting to it and could appreciate that, you know, this was the way football was moving forward and the lads are going to do that. And there was the ones who were going, why are they doing that? Why aren't they sleeping? Why aren't they eating properly? Why aren't they concentrating on the game? Why aren't they doing that? You know, there was plenty of time to do different things. There was plenty of time to do interviews and do adverts. You know, it wasn't really going to impede on your fitness or how you were played or your approach to the games on a Saturday or a Wednesday or whatever it was. But people just got it into their head that, you know, we were doing it. And, you know, probably unfortunately, we had quite a good-looking team. You know, John Scales was smooth and really suave. Jamie was a good-looking lad. Patrick Berger, we signed, looked $1 million. You know, David James. You know, so these companies were looking at these lads and saying, I want them on my posters and my adverts and doing stuff. So, you know, we were getting asked. Plus,
Don't push yourself out, Jason. You were washing hair and everything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was getting my fair share of the adverts as well. So, you know, but you know, your agent was putting it on the table, and you know, they were throwing around. You know, for that wash and go advert, I got paid £100,000 to do it back in 1997, which was probably 200 grand back then. You know, so it's a lot of money to turn down. So, you know, we were given the opportunity to do it. We were given the okay by the club, and we went and did it. You know, it wasn't like it was now where partnerships and image rights were like, you know, you can't do it because of this, that, and the other, and you know, partnerships were blocking you because of the club's partners and all that. It was literally a free-for-all back then. People were still learning. You know, agents were coming into the game. Financial advisors were coming into the game. So, you know, but I look back and, you know, I think, you know, Man United were doing the same thing. Newcastle players were doing, Arsenal players were doing the same thing. Tottenham players. So we were all doing it. But the problem with us, the Liverpool team, was because we were expected to win the title that season. We were so glamorous and everything, and we didn't. People were looking for an excuse, and it was, you were out too much. You were going out with pop stars. You were doing adverts. You were doing this. That wasn't the case.
I can imagine your team, as you said, you were a good-looking set of lads. I don't suppose you had too many trouble getting a few phone numbers if you went for a night out after a game.
No, it was easy enough. You know, we'd stay in London after we played. We'd have the Sunday off, so we'd stay. Ask the gaffer if we could stay down. He was okay with it. We'd stay down. We had a lot of friends in London, so we'd go out. London was great because you never got bothered. No one really bothered you, so we like that. You know, you become normal. You know, when you come back up to Liverpool, you know, everyone's got an opinion. If you're an Everton fan, you're getting stick. If you haven't played well or you lost the game, your own fans were giving you stick. You know, people wanted to be around you. So it was difficult. So we felt it was more of a release to go somewhere different where you couldn't get any hassle. So that's why we went to London. We didn't go to London because it was glamorous. But like you just said there, when you're in London, you bump into a certain kind of person, whether it was TV, film, music, whatever. And, you know, I think the thing as well, mate, I think back then, you know, I remember talking to one particular girl who was in a band, and, you know, we shared the same kind of problems, really. You know, we were probably two people from a very similar background who, you know, found that the pressure of fame and, you know, difficult to handle. So we kind of bounced off each other. You know, we kind of spoke to each other a lot about, you know, problems that whether she faced or whether I faced. You know, there was a trust element there because we were both in the same kind of industry, not, you know what I mean, kind of like that kind of fame industry. So so we bounced off each other. We shared problems with each other, and, you know, mental health back then wasn't, you know, it was relatively new. No one really knew what was going on, but, you know, we were under severe pressure. You know, they were under pressure to tour and make songs. I was under pressure to win games and play well. You know, we just, you know, released by speaking to each other, and, you know, we didn't see each other too often because we were always away. But, you know, we shared, and a lot of the lads felt the same thing when whoever they went out with. You know, Jamie ended up marrying Louise, and she had the same problem. She was in a pop band, Eternal. You know, a lot of the lads did date famous people, but sometimes I think, you know, we shared a lot in common.
Do you think it's unfair to beat that team with the Spice Boys stick and say that if you'd taken football more seriously, you could have won the league that year? Is that a bit unfair?
Yeah, we took it extremely serious, mate. We knew we had a real opportunity to win the title. We knew we were good enough. You know, no one beats themselves up more than us. You know, we get together now, you know, and reminisce. And it was the season, them 2 seasons, 95, 96, 96, 97, maybe 97, 98, because Roy was building, you know, Paddy came. We built Michael Owen, who come on the scene, a bit younger. You know, we had an opportunity then. You know, them 3 seasons were a real opportunity to win the title, and we didn't take it. But it wasn't for the want of not wanting it enough. We just didn't know. We just didn't know how to. We just didn't have, you know, we just didn't have the management, the game management, or the mentality to get over the line. Man United did, and later on Arsenal did under Arsene Wenger.
Do you remember your first goal for Liverpool?
Oh yeah, Cop End, Rochdale FA Cup. Don't forget them moments, mate.
7-0. The game's done. What was it like?
Yeah. I celebrated like it was the winner against Man United in the FA Cup final. Yeah, Mickey Thomas played me and made a lovely little run and smashed one into the top corner across the keeper. Yeah, Cop End. But I think it was about the 6th or the 7th. Yeah, but it was just a special moment. You know, just to score a goal for Liverpool at home, Cop End is what you dream about doing as a kid, isn't it? So, you know, did it? Tick that box.
The FA Cup run was brilliant. We'll come back to it. But the league was sort of ticking over, and you never quite got in the title race. But there were some games that season. The 5-0 against Leeds, 3-0 against Villa when Robbie Fowler scored that wonderful goal where he just cut inside Steve Staunton. That was the best.
that was the best for that first half. If you can find it anywhere, I don't know if it's on YouTube, like full 45 minutes. That's one of the best 45 minutes of football you'll see any team play. We were unplayable. It was no slayer. I think Brian Little was the manager. No slayer on him, tactics, his team. They had some full internationals all playing. We were just unplayable for 45 minutes. And the worst thing that happened to us, and the best thing that happened to Villa, was the referee blew the half-time whistle. Because if it had just played on, it could have been 10-0. But we went in half-time, and then it all settled, and then we went back out, and we couldn't get it going again to that level. I think obviously it was 0-0 second half. But I've never played in a game of football for 45 minutes where I've just come off at half-time and just went, wow. It was like 2 touch. The movement was brilliant. 1 touch. The goals we scored. Robbie's goal where he Cruyff Stan and Steve Staunton smashes it into the top corner. It was just like Roy the Rovers. It was just like mental.
Did you enjoy that one more, or the 4-3 against Newcastle? Different game, but that's the one that everyone always says is the best game in Premier League history.
Yeah, I watched it it was on Sky the other night here in England, and they played the full game. I watched it back, and even then, the hairs on my arms were standing up. Some of the football that was played, it was just the energy. It was played in the right tempo, in the right manner. It had everything. It had, goals, bad defending, good defending, aggression. It had skill. It had an atmosphere. At night under the lights. But 2 teams that were going for the title. We ended up doing each other because obviously, United went on and won the title. We kind of, being a Newcastle, it was a bit of a sucker punch. I think Newcastle would have gone on and won the league had they beat us that night. It was the game that kind of finished your season, kind of deflated you. And, if it wasn't us, we would have wanted Newcastle to win the title. And obviously we done ourselves because we beat it and Man United went on and won it. But as a game, it was just, I would say, that 45 minutes is the best I've ever played in, but a full 90 minutes to play in a game would have been the Newcastle game, yeah.
See, that's always the accusation levelled against Newcastle and Newcastle fans maybe. You'd rather see your team lose 4-3 than win 1-0. But I think most football fans would rather watch a game like that than watch their team grind out a 1-0. There's not much excitement about that. That 4-3 was as good a 90 minutes of football as probably anyone who watched that night will ever see.
Ever see, mate. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games that have come close to that game and played in the right manner. And like you said, been, reins off. But you look at the managers and it was Keegan and...
Keegan
was it, no, yeah, well, was it Keegan or Kenny? The first one.
So the first one, that's when Keegan was slumped down over the holdings when Stan scored, Stan Collymore in stoppage time.
So obviously it was Kev and Roy, 2 very expansive managers, wasn't it? They, if you look at the team, Ginola, Ferdinand, Despria, we had obviously the way we played, McAteer, Robbie, Stan, myself, Rob Jones on the other side, Jamie Barnsley. We were just like, it was just an amazing game to play in. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Man United played quite attractive football that season. They played some nice stuff, but they just had the nous to get over the line and grind results out sometimes. But as 2 teams go, you couldn't have got 2 better attacking teams than Newcastle and Liverpool. And unfortunately, to the detriment that season of the way it was played, none of us won the title. So yeah,
it felt at that point as if the 3 teams at that point were probably neck and neck: Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United. But United went on the next 3 or 4 years and got better and better and better, eventually to the team that won the treble. Newcastle, obviously, Keegan moved on and Newcastle dropped off a bit. And you never really pushed on as maybe we'd have expected you to. That team was probably good enough to compete with United for the next 4 or 5 years on paper, and maybe didn't quite live up to its potential.
Yeah, I mean, there was some key moments that season. Some key moments where, they went on, and the FA Cup, I think if we'd have won the FA Cup, I think we might have beat United. So we would have beat them twice, and we wouldn't have lost against them in 3 games that season. But if we if we'd have won the FA Cup, I think we might have put up a better challenge than the season after. We kind of become a little bit inferior to them. And like, I never felt that against anybody playing for Liverpool, apart from like going into the next season, it was like, oh, Man United. And I think they'd done us twice that season, or we drew and lost. But I felt like, you know, them doing the double, they took a massive step forward, where we kind of took a slight step back, where it was on a par at the beginning of 95-96. Newcastle, you never quite knew what you were going to get with them. They were either going to kick on or they were going to go back. They dropped a little bit further back, you know, but everyone, like every season, strengthens. You know, Arsenal come good, then Chelsea strengthened again. But I just think the double and, you know, what Sir Alex, the mindset he had then and the players he had, you know, winning stuff is massive, mate. Winning stuff really brings you back. You know, it gives you the appetite, it gives you the taste. Playing in finals and playing in World Cups and, you know, getting close creates an appetite. You know, certainly there were some situations I wanted to do again, wanted to play at Wembley again, wanted to play in a cup final again. Of course you do. But when you win at Wembley in a cup final, when you win the league, you become almost untouchable. It's kind of like, you know, we're the best.
Did you expect to beat United in that cup final? The fact that you'd gone to Old Trafford and drawn and beat them at Anfield quite comfortably. Did you think that cup final was yours?
No, it's mad, mate. A cup final is crazy, right? Because, like I said, like there was no game in that season that I felt a team was better than us and would beat us. I always felt we would win, and if we lost, it was a shock. It was like, whoa, you know, what happened there? Or but a cup final, it's kind of like everybody goes out the comfort zone, because it's like you go down to Wembley a couple of days before, the suits, you know, the song, you've done the song.
Who chose the suits? Was that
J-Mo.
you?
No, J-Mo chose the suits. You get like funny enough, just look at it there. We've just moved into a house. We're doing all the curtains and everything, and there's one over there. It's like a material thing. Yeah, I'll go and get it. Wait there. Wait there. It's like this, right? So this comes, right? And it's like all different cloths. Obviously, this is curtains and stuff. So you go through it and you go, oh, I like kind of that colour. So we would have gone for something like, I don't know, like a nice brown. So we would have gone for, say, like a browny colour like that, right? You might get the true colour there. So we picked suits in this colour. So it looked nice. We got fitted up, and they were kind of, we wanted to go for that like Italian brown, you know, the nice sky blue shirt underneath. Red Hot Day, Wembley, summer. Why not? So when the suits turned up, they literally came like, so then they turned like, you're not getting the true. They actually cut.
We all remember, Jason. No one talked about the game. We only talk about the suits.
Exactly. So they turned up white. So then you're under pressure to wear them, because obviously they're Armani and we're like contracted to wear them now. So yeah, it was just.
Hang on, go back. Just what. How did you get from you picking brown to them turning up white? Who's
They just got the cut. They just must have. I actually think they've gone into the factory or whatever they make them, and they've gone, who's got the swab? Who's got the swab? And someone's like, I don't know, we've left it. And then they've gone, what colour did they pick? And then someone's gone, I think it's this one. And then they've literally gone like that, and it was the wrong colour. I'm convinced they got the wrong colour. They sent the wrong colour. And they've turned up this really like eggshell white or creamy kind of whitey colour. And then they've come. They were oversized. They were a terrible cut. They were just like the worst suits in the world. But, you know, we went with it. And, you know, people go, oh, it was Alex Ferguson's team talk. Yeah, it might have been. But it was never going to win or lose a cup final, a suit. It was never, ever going to do that.
Was the cup final as bad as I remember it? Or was it just that it had been such an incredible season that the game itself was just a bit of a letdown?
Like I said, it's quite a unique game, the cup final. It's a one-off. It's at Wembley. Get out your comfort zone.
Just never seemed to start. It seemed like you completely cancelled each other.
Well, that's what happened. You know, two very young, expansive teams lots of talent on show, and then all of a sudden, like you said, the game never gets going. Everyone was nervous. No one wanted to give away an opportunity, and absolutely nothing happened. Me and Giggsy, just, nothing happened. I tackled him. He tackled me. I never really got forward because I was frightened of him. He never really got forward because he was tracking. It's just like that. It just never, ever got going.
Is that you politely saying you have Giggsy in your pocket?
Yeah. Again. Yeah, I've watched it back. It's not one of them stop-start ones where you're like, oh, turn this off. It's not like that. But there was just no chances. No chances. And then it comes to the last 10 minutes of the game. They get a corner from a back pass that goes out of play. So they never really should have got a corner. So they get this corner, and then J-Mo comes and punches because he's had nothing to do for 78, 9 minutes and feels he needs to do something. He comes a long way, punches, doesn't get enough on it. Just hits it. It goes through a crowd of about 6 or 7 players. I was on the line. And it just, I can still remember it now going in. It was like slow motion, just goes in slow motion. And then you just think, oh no, it's the worst time to concede. And then, we threw everything at it last 10 minutes and we just couldn't score. And then they'd done the double.
It was, for everything you've done in your entire career, all the rest, the Blackburn, Bolton, 2 World Cups, despite that sort of disappointing end, the best year you had.
Yeah, I was in a spell of 3 years. So from the 94 World Cup at the end of the 94-95 season to signing for Liverpool to then playing in the FA Cup final, scoring the semi, playing in the FA Cup final, although we lost. Amazing experience to then starting that season again. It was just the best time of my life. Yeah, brilliant. Loved every second of it, apart from losing.
Jason, before we finish, because I could talk about, I could sit all day with you. I know you've got family stuff to do. What about the team right now? What's your gut feeling? Are you bothered how Liverpool win the title? Do you have to do it on the pitch? Would you be content if they call it, now look, we can't play the season. Liverpool has so far claimed, 25 points. Would you be content just to be given the title now?
No. I think the general consensus is we want to get the season going again, and we want to finish it off. We know we're so close, but we want to get them final 7 points, whatever it is, to get over the line. And we'll feel that we've achieved it then. Obviously, it's not been the most ideal situation. Of course, it's not. It's been disappointing, but there's a bigger picture to this. As we started this interview, it's a lot of things come before football, but we desperately want to do it the right way, and I think that's starting the season again. If it's behind closed doors, it's behind closed doors. But as long as we get the points and we mathematically win it, then fair enough.
You think it would be slightly, would it be slightly tarnished for you if you don't get to do it on the field?
Yeah, it will. I think everyone will feel like that. I think everyone will feel, we were kind of given the title, although we are so far ahead, and I don't think anyone thinks we're going to slip up and not win the title. But you want to do it by achieving it. Yeah, we've achieved some fantastic things over the last 3 or 4 seasons. We've got so close to winning the title. We want to do it in the right manner, and we want to do it where it's mathematically impossible. If that means playing 3 or 4 games to get them points behind closed doors, then we'll celebrate when we can, and it's safe to do so, and we'll have a great celebration and do it correctly. But yeah, we don't want to be given it. We're trying to take the positives out of it. Sadio Mane, he's been kicking the football now for 2.5 years, non-stop. This is a great opportunity for him to rest, Salah to rest, Van Dijk to rest. And I think the season will get going again, because I think from what I'm hearing from the TV revenue, and clubs just can't pay money back, and it needs to get going again. I think it's a great idea to postpone the Euros till next year. It opens a window up now of July and June and July. And I think, even if we push the new season back to the end of August, that will be fine. We all start again and we get going again, and we start the season back end of August and put everything behind us. and we go again and do it afresh. And I think Liverpool will do it again next season. I think this rest will certainly benefit the squad. Yeah, I do.
Do you need to change much in the summer if there is a transfer window?
Yeah, I think there's a few positions I think that need a little bit of protecting. I don't think you can ask this set of lads to go on and on and on and on and keep producing what they're producing. You've got to evolve. You've got to move when players are available. I think the likes of Sancho would be a great acquisition. I think Liverpool should go out and buy him. I think he would be a great player for Liverpool. I think you need to take a bit of pressure off the front three. Left back, I think Robbo, although he will benefit from this rest. I think you can't ask James Milner to keep playing there or Gomez to slot in there. Maybe bring in someone else, just to cover him, to cover Robbo, put a bit of pressure on. I think we've got strength in most areas really.
A lot of talk maybe Werner might be coming this summer.
Yeah, whether he's the right fit, it's all about, we know Jurgen just doesn't venture into the transfer market and buy, a superstar or because someone's available or because he's got money in his pocket. He has to fit a criteria, he has to fit a dressing room, he has to fit a work ethic, he has to fit a style of play. I feel Sancho is more of that criteria than maybe what Timo Werner is. But Sancho might have outpriced himself, for what Liverpool want. He might want to go to United, which is the talk at the minute. Timo Werner, might be the player that we go for if we don't get Sancho.
Last one for you, Jason. Last question, and this is a thinker for you. How would your Liverpool team, have done against this one?
Do you know what? I've got to be honest. I think you would either get an FA Cup final against Man United, where we just cancel each other out, or you get a Liverpool Newcastle, where it's one of the best games that you watch. Because I just think, me and Robbo, we'd have a right battle. Him pushing me back, me getting forward. It'd be cat and mouse. Same on the other side with Trent. Can Fabinho shackle Maka? Can Van Dijk and Gomez, can they handle Robbie's movement, Stan's presence? Can our back three handle the front three of Liverpool? That would be a great battle. Firmino, Salah and Mane, playing against our back three, our wing backs. Be fascinating. Be a great game. FIFA could bring that out. FIFA 96, couldn't he? What was that? I was on the front of that. Fuck FIFA, the game, PlayStation. They should bring that out.
You reckon you'd nick it, your boys?
I'm going, do you know what? I'm going for the 3-3. There you go. Sitting the fence, 3-3.
Brilliant. Jason, thanks so much for doing this.
Mate, loved it, mate. Great to see you. Glad you're safe. Stay safe.